Let's start with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam Aviravirma edhi Vedasyama anistha Shrutam me ma prahasihi Anenadhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right, today is the hymn 81 from the fifth mandala by Shyavashva from Atri family. So the last time we had from book 4 by Vamadeva. Today we have from Atri. It is a short hymn, but a lot of commentaries by Sri Aurobindo, which is very useful for us to understand what it is. So I will read first the hymn. Yunjate mana uta yunjate dhiyach viprasya brihato vipaschitach vihotra dadhe vayunavid eka id mahidevasya savituch parishtutich vishvarupani Pratimunchate kavich prasavid bhadram dvipade chatushpade vinakam akhyat savita vareniyo anu prayanam ushaso virajati yasya prayanam anu asya anu anya idyayuh devasya mahimanam ojasa Yav parthivani vimame sa etashach rajansi devach savita mahitvana utayasi savitach trini rochana uta suryasya rashmibhich sam uchyasi uta ratrim ubhayatach pariyasa uta mitro bhavasi deva Dharma bhih uteshishe prasavasya tvam eka it utapusha bhavasi deva yama bhih utedam vishvam bhuvanam virajasi shyavashvaste savitach stomam anashe. So this is the prelude by Sri Aurobindo to this hymn. The Rishi hymns the sun god as the source of divine knowledge and the creator of the inner worlds. To him, the seer, the seeker of light yoke their mind. The seekers of light yoke their mind and thoughts. He, the one knower of all forms of knowledge, is the one supreme ordainer of the sacrifice. He assumes all forms as the robes of his being and his creative sight, and creates the supreme good and happiness for the two forms of life in the worlds. He manifests the heavenly world, shining in the path of the dawn of divine knowledge. In that path, the other Godheads follow him, and it is his greatness of light that they make the goal of all their energies. He has measured out for us our earthly worlds by his power and greatness. But it is in the three worlds of light that he attains to his real greatness of manifestation in the rays of the divine sun. Then he encompasses the night of our darkness with his being and his light, and becomes Mitra, who by his law produces the luminous harmony of our higher and lower worlds. Of all our creation, he is the one author, and by his forward marches, he is its increaser until the whole world of our becoming grows full of his illumination. And by his forward marches, he is its increaser until the whole world of our becoming grows full of his illumination. There is much longer commentary on this hymn, which we will read in full, because it gives us all the keys to the hymns to Savitri and Surya. So first I will read few verses and then I will come to his commentary. Yunjate mana uta yunjate dhyah. Men illumined yoked their mind, and they yoke their thoughts to him who is illumination and largeness and clear perceiving. Knowing all phenomena, he ordains as he orders soul the energies of the sacrifice. Vast is the affirmation in all things of Savitri, the divine creator. I have actually here two translations by Sri Aurobindo from different studies. He made several studies of the same hymns. So one can always look into the second one. The illumined yoke their mind, and they yoke their thoughts to the illumined Godhead, to the vast, to the luminous in consciousness, the one knower of all manifestation of knowledge. He alone orders the things of the sacrifice. Great is the praise of Savitri, the creating Godhead. From here we can gather that this is the supermind which manifests the worlds from its origin. Vijnanam yajnam tanute. Vijnana is spreading all the sacrifice. So Sri Aurobindo translates Vayuna here as phenomena, and Hotra as the energies of the sacrifice. It's quite interesting for those who study it. It is by yoking our thoughts and mental concentration to his luminous and vast mind, to the one who knows all the phenomena of our existence and all the processes of our transformation, Hotra, which he establishes and reigns in the universe, that the great all-reaching affirmation of the Supreme can be successfully made in us. It's interesting that this word yunjate, yuji, yukti, yoga, is used here from root yuj, to yoke, to unite. Sri Aurobindo mentions in his other commentary that this is the ancient yoga. The yoga was to connect to your mind with the higher mind, with the luminous mind of the Supreme. And here this starts with this Yunjate Manach. He connects the mind. Uta Yunjate Dhiyach, and he connects his concentrations of the mind. Vipra, the luminous seers. Viprasya Brihatach Vipaschitach. They connect to the of Vipra. Yeah. So he is called the illumined, the sun, and they are the illumined. Vihotradadhe Vayunavid, and the one who knows or realizes or discovers or illumines all the Vayanas, all the phenomena. Eka it, alone. Mahidevasya Savitov Parishtutich. Great is the Parishtutich, the affirmation of the God Savitar. Why it is great? Because all the phenomena are manifested by him. All the forms of knowledge and all the physical things which are the result of this knowledge. Most probably, before we read the whole hymn, it will be useful for us to see. I skip the whole hymn and go to Sri Aurobindo's explanation. And after explanation, the whole hymn becomes so transparent and luminous. It's a bit longish passage, but it is really worth reading slowly. So, Surya Savitri, creator and increaser. Indra, with his shining hosts, the Maruts, he is called Marutvan also, the one who possesses Maruts, energies of the mind. Agni, the divine force, fulfiller of the Aryan sacrifice, are the most important deities of the Vedic system. Indra and Agni. Yes? Indra represents Vishnu from above, Agni represents Rudra from below. His will, that is knowledge, is the initiator of the upward effort of the mortal towards immortality. Agnis means. To this divine consciousness that is one with the divine power, we arrive as the foundation of immortal existence. Indra, Lord of Svar, the luminous intelligence into which we have to convert our obscure material mentality in order to become capable of the divine consciousness, is our chief helper. It is by the aid of Indra and Maruts that the conversion is effected. The Maruts take our animal consciousness made up of the impulses of the nervous mentality, possess these impulses with their illuminations and drive them up the hill of being towards the world of Svar and the truths of Indra. Our mental evolution begins with these animal troops, these pashus. Pashus means, Sri Aurobindo translates them as the perceiving beings, beings charged with consciousness but of a lower mentality. They are usually translated as the animals, usually domesticated animals. They become, as we progress in the ascension, the brilliant herds of the sun, Gavach. And this is the difference between Pashus and Gavach, between the domesticated animals in general and Gavach as the cows the rays of light, the rays, the divine cows of the Veda. Such is the psychological sense of the Vedic symbol. So on one side, Agni, rising, yes, calling to Indra, on the other, Indra descending and taking Maruti into as his helpers to convert us as Pashu. We are Pashu, the Pati. Pashupati is the Rudra who is managing our mentality, lower mentality, to rise to the higher mentality. And Indra is a chief helper who comes and with his light of the sun, with his Vajra lightning, illumines our mental energies of Maruts who are driving us upward towards higher mentality. And then Shubhendra shifts. But who then is Surya? If all that is, everything is spoken in one passage. The sun, from whom these rays proceed. He is the master of truth. Surya, the illuminator. Savitri, the creator. Pushan, the increaser. These are all the names of the same Savitar or Surya. His rays in their own nature are supramental activities of revelation, inspiration, intuition, luminous discernment. These four will be the powers, you remember them, yes? Ila, Saraswati, Mahi, and Dakshina. These are the powers. And they constitute the action of the transcendent principles, which the Vedanta calls Vijnana. Vijnana is the name for the supermind, the perfect knowledge, the Veda written, the truth. But these rays descend also into the human mentality and form at its summit the world of luminous intelligence, Svar, of which Indra is the Lord. Now the Svar, Sri Aurobindo calls the regions of the rays of the sun. Yeah, the luminous regions of the rays of the sun, not of the sun. So it is that mentality which is being formed by this ascension. And it is the overmental realms between the supermind and our human mentality, of which Indra is the Lord. For this Vijnana is the divine and not human faculty. Vijnana, which is beyond the Svar world, with Indra as the Lord. Man's mind is not constituted of the self-luminous truth, like the divine mind. It is a sense mentality, manas, which can receive and understand truth, but is not one with it. These all definitions are so important to dwell upon, but we read through first. The light of knowledge has to present itself in this human understanding, tempered so as to suit its forms to the capacities and limitations of the physical consciousness. Why do we have manas? Because manas will translate the divine truth into the language of the physicality, and physical forms may appear. And it has to lead up progressively to its own true nature. That's another function of the manas. It has to connect us, our physicality, for this ascension to the higher nature, to manifest successive evolutionary stages for our mental development. Therefore, the rays of Surya, as they labor to form our mental existence, create three successive worlds of mentality, one superimposed on the other. the sensational, aesthetic, and emotional mind, the pure intellect, and the divine intelligence. They are all superimposed. The fullness and perfection of these triple worlds of mind exists only in the pure mental plane of being. There is a footnote here. Our natural plane of being is obviously the physical consciousness, but the others also are open to us, since part of our being lives in each of them. You remember our scheme, the triple three worlds. So mentality is present on each of the levels. There is the mental, physical, there is a vital, there is a mental, vital, and there is mental, physical. So on all the levels, mental. So mind is present on all the levels. That's what Schopenhauer puts here in the footnote. There are, I will read again. The fullness and perfection of these triple worlds of mind exists only in the pure mental plane of being, where they shine above the three heavens, tisro diavoch, triple heaven, and there are three luminosities, trini rochanani, three luminous realms of the overmind, the link between the mind and supermind, where Indra is the Lord. But their light descends upon the physical consciousness and affects the corresponding formations in its realms, the Vedic Parthivani Rajansi, earthly realms of light. They also are triple, Tisrach Prithivi or Tisra Bhumich, the three earths. We have our triple physicality, which is mental physical, vital physical, and physical or physical proper. And of all these worlds, Surya Savitri is the creator. And this is the knowledge of the Veda, that our physicality is nothing but a spiritual formation. Our physical world is not separate from the spiritual. It's just the formation of the spiritual. We have in this figure of various psychological levels, each considered as a world in itself, a key to the conceptions of the Vedic rishis. The human individual is an organized unit of existence which reflects the constitution of the universe. It repeats in itself the same arrangement of states and play of forces. Man subjectively contains in himself all the worlds in which objectively he is contained. Preferring ordinarily a concrete to an abstract language, the rishis speak of the physical consciousness as the physical world, earth, bhuv, prithivi. They describe the pure mental consciousness as heaven, Tyauch, of which Svar, the luminous mind, is the summit. Our mind is the summit of our manifested worlds. But beyond there is a supermind. To the intermediate dynamic, vital and nervous consciousness they give the name either of Antariksha, the intermediate vision, or of Bhuvar, multiple dynamic worlds formative of the earth, the vital worlds, triple. For in the idea of the rishis, a world is primarily a formation of consciousness and only secondarily a physical formation of things. This is what we try always to understand, that for the Vedic rishis, the physical world is nothing but the outcome, the symbol, and the secondary formation of the spiritual consciousness. A world is a loka. Loka is a Sanskrit word, which is also from root ruch, to shine. A way in which conscious being images itself. It's quite interesting. Conscious being images itself in this world. And it is the causal truth represented in the person of Surya Savitri that is the creator of all its forms. For it is the causal idea in the infinite being, the idea not abstract, but real and dynamic, that originates the law, the energies, the formations of things, and the working out of their potentialities in determined forms by determined processes. Everything is supremely scientific and precise here. Nothing is vague and, kind of muddy. Because the causal idea is a real force of existence, it is called Satyam, the true in being. Because it is the determining truth of all activity and formation, it is called Ritam, the true in movement. Because it is broad and infinite in its self-view, in its scope and in its operation, it is called Brihad, the large or vast. So Savitri, by the truth, is the creator, but not in the sense of a fabrication or mechanical forming of things. The root of the word means an impulsion or a losing forth or sending out, pressing out even. The sense also of the ordinary word for the creation, srishti. Srishti is also something which is let go, released, from root srij, srijati. The action of the causal idea does not fabricate, but brings out by tapas, by the pressure of consciousness on its own being, that which is concealed in it, latent in potentiality and in truth, already existent in the beyond. So everything which is existent in the beyond, hidden from us, is pressed out to the surface, into the time and space. Now, the forces and processes of the physical world repeat, as in a symbol, the truths of the supraphysical action which produced it. And since it is by the same forces and the same processes, one in the physical worlds and the supraphysical, that our inner life and its development are governed. The rishis adopted the phenomena of physical nature as just symbols for those functionings of the inner life which it was their difficult task to indicate in the concrete language of a sacred poetry that must at the same time serve for the external worship of the gods as powers of the visible universe. Quite difficult sentence, but the idea is that the outer universe is nothing but the projection of the same relations, forces, processes, meanings, conscious relations of the spirit. And that's why we have this universe in these forms. That's why we have the sun shining with the light, physical light upon us, creating life and all the forms, revealing to our sight the forms with the light. We can seeing. The solar energy is the physical form of Surya, Lord of light and truth, physical. It is through the truth that we arrive at immortality, final aim of the Vedic discipline. It is therefore under the images of the sun and its rays, of dawn and day and night, and the life of man, between the two poles of light and darkness, that the Aryan seers represent the progressive illumination of the human soul. It is so that Shyavashva of the house of Atri hymns Savitri, creator, increaser, revealer. Surya enlightens the mind and the thoughts with the illuminations of the truth. He is Vipra, the illumined. It is he who delivers the individual human mind from the circumscribed consciousness of self and environment and enlarges the limited movement which is imposed on it by its preoccupation with its own individuality. Shobin is so sweet. We are enclosed with preoccupation with our own individuality, and Surya is releasing us, widening the scope, getting away from our preoccupation with our own individuality. Therefore, he is Brihat, the large. He is the large because of that we have a larger consciousness than our individual, framing. But his illumination is not a vague light, nor does his largeness come by a confused and dissolved view of self and object, as we would imagine immediately. Where am I? I disappeared, yes. No, it's not that way. It holds in itself a clear discernment of things in their totality, their parts and their relations. Everything becomes concrete, charged with consciousness and bliss. Therefore, he is Vipashchit, the clear in perception. Man, as soon as they begin to receive something of this solar illumination, strive to yoke their whole mentality to its thought contents, to the conscious existence of the divine Surya within them. The divine Surya is within us, and we try to connect all our thoughts, all our aspirations to his light. That is to say, they apply, as it were, all their obscure mental state and all their erring thoughts to his light manifested in them, so that it may turn the obscurity of the mind into clearness and convert the errors of thoughts into those truths which they distortedly represent. The yoking yunjate becomes their yoga. This is the Vedic yoga. They yoke the mind and they yoke their thoughts. The enlightened of the enlightened, the large, the clear perception. This is from the hymn. You remember the whole Tat Savitur Varam Rupam, Tat Savitur Varenyam. Now it is clear why this Gayatri mantra was chosen. Om Bhurbhuvak Suvaha, Om, 3 words. Tat Savitur Varenyam, that the best light of the Savitar, Tatsaviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi. We fix our consciousness upon, our thoughts upon his dazzling light. Dhiyoyonav prachodayat, who will move our thoughts forward or upward in evolutionary process of enlightenment. Enlightenment doesn't happen at once. It will happen gradually in our moving forward. This is evolutionary mantra of Gayatri mantra. Sri Aurobindo has it a bit differently. Tat savitur varam rupam. We fix we think about the best form of savitar. Tat savitur varam rupam var hiyo.
Jyotif.
Jyotif parasya dhimahi. We think about Jyotir of the Supreme, Yanasatyena dipayet, who will illumine us with the truth. Sri Aurobindo changed it. You can see why, because he is now examining this hymn and he is saying exactly this, what it does. Yes. It illumines us with the truth. That's why we fix our mind upon it. Its mind is the means for us to really rise in consciousness. It's the instrument to rise. That's why he was describing the mind before so much. And marots, why? Because these are the intermediaries, these are the bridges which will allow us to grow into the higher consciousness and to bring it down into our being and change our being altogether. Then the Lord of Truth orders all the human energies offered up to him. Now we come to this lower energies in us. We offer all of them because we now connected our minds. Our consciousness is already connected and illumined, and we can offer our all human energies to him in the terms of the truth. For he becomes in man a soul and sovereign power governing all knowledge and action. Not interfered with by conflicting energies, not interfered with by conflicting energies. He governs perfectly, for he knows all manifestations, comprehends their causes, contains their law and process, compels their right result. There are 7 of these sacrificial energies, hotras, in the human being, one corresponding to each of the 7 constituents of his psychological existence: body, life, mind, supermind, bliss, will, and essential being. Yes, this is Satchit Ananda, Satchit Tapasananda, Vijnana Manas Prana, and Annam. 7 worlds. Their irregular action or wrong relation caused and maintained by the obscuration of knowledge in mind is the source of all stumbling and unhappiness, of all evil act and evil state. Surya, Lord of Knowledge, puts each of them to its right place in the sacrifice. Knower of phenomena, soul, he arranges the sacrificial energies. Man thus arrives at a vast and all-embracing affirmation in himself of this divine creator. It is implied in this passage and indicated more clearly in the next verse that the result is a right and happy creation, for all our existence is a constant creation, ongoing creation of the universe of man's whole being. Vast is the comprehensive affirmation of God, Savitri. Surya is the seer, the revealer. His truth takes into its illumination all forms of things, all the phenomenal objects and experience which constitute our world, all the figures of the universal consciousness within and without us. It reveals the truth in them, their sense, their purpose, their justification and right use, ordering rightly the energies of the sacrifice. It creates or produces good as the law of our whole existence. For all things have their justifiable cause of being, their good use and their right enjoyment, all things. When this truth in them is found and utilized, all things produce good for the soul, increase its welfare, enlarge its felicity. And this divine revolution is affected both in the lower physical existence and in the more complete inner life, which uses the physical for its manifestation. The seer takes to himself all forms. He brings out, creates, or manifests good for the twofold, two-footed, and the fourfold, four-footed. From here I know that Sri Aurobindo translates this differently. He makes a footnote. The symbolism of the words dvipade, chatushpade may be differently interpreted. The discussion of it here would occupy too large a space. Two-footed is the relation of the unborn self and inborn self, Jivatma and Paramatma, Jivatma and Antaratma. And the four-footed is actually the Annam Prana, Annam Prana, Manas and Vijnana. So the four levels of our evolution towards the supermind. The nature, the evolution of nature and the evolution of the soul, the evolution of the instruments of knowledge and the evolution of our inborn being. These are two-footed and four-footed. The process of this new creation is described in the rest of the hymn. Surya as creator, as the supreme good, manifests in our human consciousness its concealed heavenly summit on the levels of the pure mind, the rays of the light. I'm adding the rays of the light, Trini Rochanani, and we are able to look up above from the earth of our physical existence and are delivered from the obscurities of the night of ignorance. So in our physical state, in our physical sight, we are able to connect to the highest supreme sight. He follows, sun-like, the march of the dawn, illuminating all the regions of our being on which falls its light. For there is always needed the precursory mental illumination before the truth itself, the supramental principle, can take possession of this lower existence. So the dawn has to precede the Surya, the sun. The Creator, the supremely desirable, manifests all heaven and shines pervadingly, following after or according to the movement forward of the dawn. So the dawn is leading him into manifestation. We follow the dawn. All the other gods follow in this march of Surya, and they attain to his vastness of the force of his illumination. That is to say, all the other divine faculties or potentialities in man expand with the expansion of the truth and light in him. In the strength of the ideal supermind, they attain to the same infinite amplitude of right becoming, right action, and right knowledge. Rhythm is right. The truth in its largeness molds all into the terms of the infinite and the universal life, replaces with it the limited individual existence, maps out in the terms of their real being the realms of the physical consciousness which, as Savitri, it has created. This also is in us a creation, although in reality it only manifests what already exists, but was concealed by the darkness of our ignorance, just as the realms of the physical earth are concealed from our eyes by the darkness, but reveal themselves as the sun in his march follows the dawn and measures them out one by one to the vision. So we start to see. You remember when we had hurricane, we didn't have light for a few days. You had to wake up with the dawn and see how slowly everything becomes visible, first in the shades and then it's more with the colors. And it was such a magical kind of event of consciousness, yes, how the light reveals to you hidden things in the darkness of our mentality. Our mind is the darkness concealing, hiding the vision of things as they are. Following whose march the other gods too reach the vastness of the divinity by his strength. He who maps out entirely, that brilliant one, the earthly realms of light, the god Savitri, by his greatness. But it is not only the full capacity of our physical or earthly consciousness that this divine truth illuminates and forms for a perfect action. It pervades the three luminous realms of the pure mind, Trinirojana, our overmental realms. It puts us in contact with all the divine possibilities of the sensations and emotions, of the intellect, of the intuitive reason, and liberating the superior faculties from their limitation and constant reference to the material world, fulfills our entire mental being. Its activities receive their completest manifestation. They are gathered up into the life of the complete truth by the rays of the sun, that is to say, by the full splendor of the divine supermind manifested in us. Notice he's writing still in this way. And these are the first mentionings of the supermind by Sri Aurobindo, which he gathered from the Rig Veda, actually. And thou goest, O Savitri, to the three luminosities, luminousnesses, and thou art perfectly expressed by the rays of the sun, or art gathered together by the means of the rays. Then it is that higher kingdom of the immortality, Satchitananda, revealed, shines out perfectly in this world. The higher and lower are reconciled in the light of the supramental revelation. The ignorance, the night, is illumined upon both sides of our complete being, not only as in our present state upon one, but on both sides. No more darkness from below. This higher kingdom stands confessed in the principle of beatitude, which is for us the principle of love and light, represented by the god Mitra, the Lord of truth. Then, when he reveals himself in the full Godhead, becomes the Lord of bliss. The law of his being, the principle regulating his activities, is seen to be love. For in the right arrangement of knowledge and action, everything here comes to be translated into terms of good, felicity, bliss. And thou encompassest night upon both sides, and thou becomes, O God, Mitra, by the laws of thy action. The truth of the divine existence becomes eventually the sole Lord of all creation in ourselves, and by his constant visitations, or by his continual progressions, the Creator becomes the increaser. Savitri becomes Pulshan. He aggrandizes us by a constantly progressive creation until he has illumined the whole world of our becoming. We grow into the complete, the universal, the infinite. So has Shyavashva of the sons of Atri succeeded in affirming Savitri in his own being as the illuminative truth, the creative, the progressive, the increaser of man. He who brings him out of egoistic limitation into universality, out of the finite into the infinite. And thou hast power alone for creation. And thou becomest the increaser, O God, by the goings. And thou illuminest entirely all this world, literally becoming. Shyavashva has attained to the affirmation of thee, O Savitri. Now you got it all. It is as powerful as the hymn, if not more powerful. Of course, our mentality is not ready to receive it all, but we feel the force. Not only the light, but also the force. Yeah, it took the whole hour to read, but why not?
Yeah.
Why not to read what Sri Aurobindo has to say about the supermind?
That
Yes,
was beautiful.
it is.
Mm.
Is this taken from The Secret of the Veda?
Yes.
It was so powerful. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the force because I felt like I was pinned against the wall. You know, there's just so much coming at me, but he lays out the whole thing. I mean, I feel like I need to spend the rest of my life taking this apart because there's so much in it. It's just, I couldn't grasp even a small amount of it, but I could understand that everything is there.
Right. Yes, this is a power of Sri Aurobindo and the Veda together. Why he was so much into the Veda, yeah? Because that language, that vision, realization is there.
Ladipe, could you please repeat that what you said about the two-footed and the four-footed?
Right, Dvipada and Chatushpada. If we look into the word pada, it has many meanings, yes? It has a, I even opened the dictionary for you so we can read what pada means. Pada is a step, literally, yes? And you know it is from Hindi also, or even Bengali, I do not know, yeah?
Yeah.
And also pada is the ray of light, and pada is the level of consciousness. So it's like a state, status, pada. Chatushpad is four-footed, yeah, four padas, and dvipad is two-footed, bifooted, biped, yeah, biped and chatushpad, if you will. So pada, step, pace, stride, footstep, trace, mark, footstep itself, every step, everything, everywhere, pada, everywhere even. And air, earth, air, sky, three steps of Vishnu, three padas, sign, token, characteristic, position, rank, site, abode, home, even business, matter, object, cause, part, portion, division, square. I'm just reading meanings of pada from the dictionary. Yeah? Why? Because it's from root pad, padyate, pratipadyate, something which is when we step, we move forward. Yeah, it's something we cover, some covered space, as it were, or time. Yes? Some portion of the space or location. And because of this, so dvipad can have meaning of why dvipad and chatushpad translated as human beings and animals. It's also very interesting. Rishi is here playing his symbolic kind of association with what is happening in the evolution. So dvipad is a human being. What is the most important for the human being? To be human is the soul.
Antaratma.
Yes, Antaratma and Jivatma, the unborn self, which is supporting Antaratma. Yeah? The Antaratma is within the heart, Jivatma is above the head. And they are going together, they're always together. Yeah? This is Dvipad, this is a human being. Why Chatushpad is the animal? Because it is the evolution of nature where the forms of life developed from the physical to vital, from vital to mental, from mental to supramental. And we are, as human beings, we are both Dvipad and Chatushpad. We are evolving the means of knowledge or the instruments of knowledge through these four levels. Yes, from the physical, we have physicality in us, vitality, mentality, and supramentality in us. Also, but as a nature, yeah, as that pashu which has to grow into the higher consciousness. Yeah? We are pushed by Pashupati, by the Lord of Pashus. The Shiva carries on his shoulders the whole nature. He pushes the whole nature forward. Yeah? And that is Chatushpad.
That is why it is Annam, Pranam, Manas.
Right, and Vijnanam.
Mm. Thank you.
No, makes totally sense. We operate by these two major approaches. One is the development of our nature, of our bodies, and other is the development of our soul, evolution of the soul. There is a double process of terrestrial evolution. The evolution of the being embodied, that means the body, yeah, through the genome, through passing genetic changes to our children, to our grandchildren, and so on. And there is another evolution of the soul by reincarnation. It's ongoing process of evolution. So two are evolving simultaneously in parallel way, Dvipat and Chatushpat. They are going together. That's why they're mentioned together always, never separately. Dvipade, Chatushpade, for Dvipat and Chatushpat, for the evolution of the soul, and then later Devayana, and for Chatushpat, Pitriyana, for the development of all the instruments of knowledge, the bodies. And there is nothing else here to be mentioned. One is the Son of God. I'm coming to Christianity for Selby. The Son of God is that Dvipad. He is the direct descendant of this divine. And the other is Chatushpat, not the Son of God, so to say, not immediate, but intermediate, something which we have to take on and develop by developing ourselves in it.
Or evolving towards it.
Evolving it by evolving ourselves, yes. With the help of it and learning from it, evolving it, but by that evolving ourselves. Now we have a kind of taste or the glimpse of what Sri Aurobindo is, that luminous mentality, and why Gayatri Mantra is so important, became so important. Nobody can explain why it is so important, only Sri Aurobindo can explain. Yes? Why we need that luminous mentality, because this is intermediary, it is something which will bring the higher light into the action here and illumine everything for our mind. We will see different world around us. The world is very different than that we can see.
This was a huge missing link for me because I've read that Sri Aurobindo doesn't want religion, doesn't want anything but Veda, and I knew that's where he got his philosophy. But in this passage, he explains how supermind, or you can see how supermind comes from the Veda. That's such a beautiful link.
Mm. Right. Yeah, there's much to learn for all of us all the time. Today I read it, and it was like I read in the morning for myself. You have to read it silently in the morning when the mind is not having anything to say. And then you will see much more. Every statement has a presupposition, something he assumes something which we have to discover. Yeah? The words are not really reflecting everything if you listen only to the words. You have to listen beyond the words, what he wants to say. And there is so much more there. And the order by which he arranged everything one by one. He as if anticipates the question, what we may have. And if you, with the silent mind, you will have that question and you will read next sentence is referring to that, your concern. It's as if he's following your psychology. He does this in Savitri the same way. Great. Okay, we can stop here today. We and continue with this hymn next time. It will be easier for us to see that depth, luminous depth. Otherwise, it will be just something else without this commentary.
So, Vladimir, we can read this in the Secret of the Vedas again before next Friday. So we can.
You have also the file. I'll send you the whole file. You have it there, so you can read it from my file or Secret of the Veda. Yeah, either. Okay, I will close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This phrase, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, may all see only beautiful things. I was always wondering why that line is there. It doesn't fit into, it fits into this Vedic vision. To see only the divine things. That means to have that vision of Surya, and see properly what is what, not misled by the darkness, not hidden by the darkness. Great. Okay, see you next time then. Yeah. Namaste. Bye.